All right, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Crypto Wolf back again, and no intro, no frills, no thrills. I mean, maybe a little bit of thrills. What can I say? I'm a thrilling guy, but we're gonna be looking to see just where Bitcoin is at right now. What's going on with it. Where does it look like we may be going, and what it may look like when it gets there. So let's dig into it. Over here, we are on the weekly chart. We're gonna start up high. I just threw this little Fibonacci channel on here. There's these little colored angular lines right there. Basically just went from the swing low over here on the left. Matter of fact, let me try to zoom things up bigger for you guys here. But you can see where we've already run through it a couple times. Got rejected right around the 50 level right there. Up here, came right up around that golden pocket on that one. Got resistance on the golden pocket right there on the rebound off of that dip. So it kind of shows you where we're at, where we've had, some levels of resistance. But it may not matter because, we're over here looking where we're at right now. Ever since we got that blood diamond over here on the weekly, it has just been dropping to the downside. Money has been leaving crypto in general as well as just Bitcoin. We came down here into the red. I'd say, one of the few bullish things we have going on is, this increasing split on the RSI. But the split itself, like all by itself, is not going to save us. So just a heads up on that one. I've been paying attention a lot lately to how much control that RSI split really has, and just not enough to overpower the money flow. Like Crypto Face says, follow the money. And it doesn't just apply to doing research or looking into crimes or stuff like that. It also applies to the markets in general. Should be pretty straightforward common sense. If the money is flowing out of an asset, then your volume's going down. More likely than not, the price is going down. And when volume's flowing back in, your price is going up. Just like right here, money flow was coming up. Price was booming. Everybody was happy. Everybody was zooming. So you look at right now, and we had strong 20s to the downside over here on the DBSI, negative 5s across the board. A little bit of a bump, still negative 4, so not bullish or anything. 18, even though it is less, 18 is still a strong number to the downside. And if you look closer here, I've drawn out just some very simple little levels here. So, we had this previous low right here, which is this purple dotted line, and of course we blew past that one. Now the next actual price level, resistance level, is going to be the larger, the main low, the main previous low right there, which we're close but we're not there yet. And we'll see it as we come down in the time frames a little bit. And then below that we have this pretty important trend line, resistance line right here. And it just so happens that, let me turn these back on here, turn the spider lines back on. It just so happens that we have a spider line that intersects that trend line coming up really close within 2 weeks. So yeah, this week, the following week, and then one more. So over the course of the next 2 to 3 weeks, we could very likely be approaching that intersection point. And just to give you an idea, intersection point over here is a fairly important one. This trend line I could probably delete at this point because we pretty much blew through it. We did have a little bit of action on it on the lower time frames, but that one is, while the price is still close, I oftentimes tend to leave lines there just in case we do start coming up. It gives you, an idea of a resistance level. You know, VWAP potentially making a turn. Momentum wave still heading down, not really clipping very much at all just yet. Now we do have, you know, to take in consideration, we have this level right here, which let me make that a little bit more visible. We have this level right here, which if we do manage to clip above that line, would be potentially some bullish divergence, and that's making the assumption that the price is going to come lower than this previous low, you know, right here at this line. If the price does come down below that, and you know, this momentum wave still manages to clip and stay above that, then we would have some bullish divergence, and that could be a really good sign. You know, having bullish divergence on a weekly chart, I honestly can't even think of the last time we had that. Probably not even since I've been back in crypto here. You know, right here at the COVID dip was the last time we had bullish divergence on a weekly chart. So just to give you an idea, I mean, that's when the entire bull market kicked off. You know, that was the kickoff, the start of the game right there. So that's definitely one thing that I want to be watching out for. And if we do come below this level, which is, I mean, very possible, just to keep in mind, because, you know, remember, between these two momentum waves, we are, you know, in a downward slope. Son of a bitch. In a downward slope. So, you know, beyond this line right here, the next thing I'll be watching is I'll draw an actual line, not just the scribbles, but, you know, draw an actual line here and see if we maintain this little momentum wave channel at all. But that's pretty much how things are looking on the weekly. And once again, just to recap, you know, the most important one is right there, that money flow. Until that changes, nothing else is really going to save it. And of course, you can see this big rectangle right here. This big rectangle is the golden pocket off of a fib retracement for the entire bull market. So I clean that up a little bit. This guy right here. So from the low all the way back here, even prior to COVID, all the way up to the all-time high, golden pocket pretty much comes in right where we dipped down to the first time, and we found support at that level. So if we should happen to, you know, break that previous low resistance, break this trend line, which, keep in mind, I mean, this trend line comes all the way back from the previous bull market high to this first low. So it's not set in stone, commandments from on high type of thing. So if it breaks this, I mean, it's not full on panic mode, but if we do push into, you know, inside this golden pocket right there, I mean, it's bear market set in stone. At that point, we've created a new macro low, you know, because that's the previous low. If we break into here, that's a new low, and, you know, markets run on sentiment. That's going to give sentiment a big old kick in the nuts. So that's kind of where we're looking at, what we're looking at on the macro scale. The other important thing that I wanted to point out, and let me hide. Let's see, let's hide the spider line. Okay, clean this up a little bit. The other thing I wanted to show you, did I close it? Yes, I did. Is this guy right here. So logarithmic regression curves. And I did a video on these. It was a little while back, but it was like bull market support band and like the rainbow chart, logarithmic regression curves. At least I think that was all in one video. But it's got like the little rainbow chart, just very much looking like this on the thumbnail. I'll throw a link in the description or at the end of this video or something if you want to see that. It is good to know, you know, where to go to find those charts because it's not in TradingView. But this guy right here is your overall, you know, logarithmic regression. You can see down here in the green, and you're in like a an oversold territory. In the yellow, you know, general you know, fair value. And then up here in the red, you're in like extremely overbought territory. Did I say green is oversold? Whatever, I don't know. It's late. I just got done giving the dog a damn bath because she decided with her two buddies that they were just going to sit there running around in circles, playing and rolling around in the mud. So, as great as it was to watch, because I mean, who doesn't like watching dogs play? It's a beautiful thing, but at the same time, I got lucky. Like, my dog's brindle, so it's really hard to tell just how dirty she is, except her paws are white. So it's like, okay, like, couldn't see any white on the paws for sure. And I'm like, ah, crap, all right, looks like you're getting a bath on the back patio. But, yeah, my neighbor's two dogs, mud all up in the face and on the back. I'm like, oh, man. And one of them's, like, golden colored, so you could definitely tell. The other one was black, and even still, you could tell on her because it just, the shiny parts, you just knew it was mud. But I digress, my bad. So, yeah, I'm a little tired at this point. Just got done scrubbing and toweling off. But you can see right here, you know, where just in the course of recently, you know, fell a little bit short, but basically came up to this kind of midline in between, you know, up to the top of a fair value right there. And we keep getting rejected as we tried to come back out of the oversold territory. But now we're about to break out of the oversold band and start getting down into like the undervalue area. Undervalued. And just since we're up here on the weekly, you know, there was a couple things I was playing with that I debated even putting on here because it's gonna sound like super bearish, but you know, this guy right here, similar situation. This is almost like a whatchamacallit, almost like a fib channel, but what the hell's that one called? There's a different one. It's like almost like a combination of an arced fib channel and like a pitchfork where you got the median down the middle, and then you got fib levels up here, fib levels down here. But you can see where technically it looks like we've just popped out the bottom of that one. So I'm definitely looking to see if we find support. Now obviously that's not a hard and fast rule because, you know, we broke below it right there, found a whole bunch of support back there. You know, going back into the past here, some wicks down below. But, you know, aside from that little black swan event right there, we really haven't pushed far below that, you know, the logarithmic curve right there. And then you got this guy, which is a little bit wider, but again, like, just like a fib retracement, but regression curves. And once again, you know, we're sitting right here at the median. You know, just wicking below a little bit. But I know a lot of people lately have been talking about, you know, I'm gonna leave this on here for a second. You know, the possibility of coming back to previous highs, and I know most people say that, you know, once we've broken you know, into like a new bull market and broke the previous high, that we never came back down to it. This is very true, but just to give you an idea of what those levels would be, 19,891, 892, basically, generally for the sake of argument, 20K. Then over here, call it like 14K. And as much as it sounds like absolutely crazy insane to even contemplate coming back to levels like this, I just want to reiterate, and I'm not even saying that I think it will, but the last time we were at that level was 73 weeks ago, so not even 2 years. I mean, we were passing back through that level December 2020. So it's not as if we haven't been in that territory for 10 years or something like that. So keep in mind, all this, Bitcoin is still relatively young. Crypto is still even a little bit more so young. And, it's been gravy to have, our system of cycles going on. This isn't the longest chart, but at the same time, it's all uncharted territory. It really is. I mean, it could be, it could be a super cycle, but not in the way people are thinking. It could be, all this was one cycle and then a big pullback. I mean, you just never know, but it's largely going to depend on what's going on in the world as well. Because I agree with some people when they're saying that we really have not seen true institutional money come in yet. For the most part, people, they've been dipping a toe with some of these big players, whether it be BlackRock or Goldman Sachs, Vanguard, JP Morgan, all of these guys. These guys hold an unfathomably substantial amount of capital and power. And despite the fact that we've seen some news headlines popping up with them in it in relation to Bitcoin, they really haven't done shit. Like, for the most part, it's reached a point where they feel like, okay, there might be something to this. Let's keep an eye on it, and we'll dip our toe here and there. Whether it be Fidelity with their Bitcoin-backed, IRA or 401k or something like that. And then, Goldman Sachs doing a little bit of custodialship, or, BlackRock and these companies investing into companies in the crypto space as opposed to, straight up buying assets themselves. And I imagine a lot of them probably have bought some, probably have some on their portfolio. I wouldn't doubt it. It's probably just not very public. But, when the time comes, think about it like this. So they've been watching the market for a little while now. If you had that much money and you were already wealthy, you're already managing a huge portfolio and thousands of people and employees and all this kind of stuff, when would you want to buy in? Even just looking at this chart, you say, okay, I got the patience of a turtle, IDGAF. I'm going to buy when I want to buy. I'm not just going to say, hey, I'm learning more about Bitcoin. This seems awesome. I better hop on the train while I'm stoked about it. They're going to say, you know what? Like, we've been seeing how this works, and we really haven't had a bear market yet. So, let's wait till we hit an actual bear market. And, once we get closer and we get that sharp drop, when everybody's saying, it's over, it's the end, and they're panic selling and they're giving up on the crypto space entirely, and they're saying, screw it, I'm cashing in my chips before it goes to zero. That's when they're going to be saying, now's the time. And I think when we do reach a point, not saying it's going to go this low, but, I think when we do reach a point where we do get that precipitous drop, like that, that, if these big investors, institutions, if you will, when they do start getting in, granted, they're going to probably do largely, you know, over the counter, but I think still we'll see a fairly quick recovery at first, you know, maybe something more akin to this right here, or even this right here. This guy right here definitely, you know, hit, and it had to consolidate for a little while before finally making it up. Not to say that can't happen, but I just, me personally, I think it's at a point where people waiting in the wings to get in on it are, you know, are probably going to. And granted, you know, if they're doing OTC, it's not going to drive the price up. I mean, aside from, you do have a little bit of, you know, like the on-chain analytics and things like that. And if people are seeing, you know, some big movements to big wallets, people will see that and react accordingly. So you could see, you know, friends or people that talk to some of the people in those institutions when they say, hey, oh my gosh, they're making these big moves. Well, I guess I'm gonna get in on it too. And maybe they start buying through exchange. And other people see all the movement just on the network. And, you know, people doing the on-chain analytics are going to be like, hey, something's going on. Somebody's making moves. And I think that will help to springboard that back up. And it surprises me that a lot of people kind of question that theory, because why wouldn't you? Like, why? You know, why would you? You know, these people are patient. You know, a lot of people, especially in crypto, are very impatient. We like the volatility. We like the fast movements. We like the pumps. You know, they like the leverage. You know, people in positions like that, when you're spending that much money, you're not rushing into it. You know, you're not just going to haul off and, you know, buy right here. And they're going to be doing their analysis. It's not just going to be all willy-nilly like some of these other guys. I'm not going to name names, but you know what I'm talking about. You know, they're going to wait to try to get in this area. And I don't blame them. I'm doing the exact same thing. I've been saving up. I haven't bought shit. Haven't bought anything since, I don't know, back in this area. So yeah, I'm waiting it out. You know, if it seems like we are done and we're coming back up, yeah, I may try to buy this area right here. By the time we come back to it, odds are just, you know, pick up more. But, you know, if we start breaking below, ooh, I'm going to be rubbing my hands together like the evil villain. Like, oh, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. So if I'm feeling that way, you know, you got to believe people with the big money are absolutely thinking the same thing. But taking a look at where we're at over here on the daily chart, you know, again, working our way down, you know, potentially going to see something like that, which is why I'm really waiting to see if we at least hit that trend line right there. Not necessarily saying it has to bounce up from there, but, you know, at least something like that. But where would we be looking without Market Cipher on? So down here on the daily, make this a little bigger for you. You can see where we're at. DBSI 1611, 911, so came back up on the bearish side, went from -1 to -2, never made it into the positives. And as an example right here, you can see on this very, very volatile candle right there, we actually did come up to the +2, had some upward pressure, and an 8 on the top, not super strong. Now obviously that turned into a 16 and, you know, came down like a plane crash into a food processing plant. God, screwed that one up, didn't I? But look over here on Market Cipher, so you can see everything you need to know is right there inside that circle. Everything. RSIs, came back together, flipped to green, money flow, still coming down. Now, VWAP potentially heading up, but if this money flow continues to get worse, strong odds that we take a bounce off zero. Because keep in mind as well, let me actually use a straight line for this. Son of a bitch. You can see right there where we do have kind of a downward trending on the VWAP going on right there. So no divergence as of yet. You know, price coming down, VWAP's coming down, RSI's coming down, momentum's coming down, money flow's coming down. It's going down. It's a lot of downiness. Not gonna revert, son of a bitch. Yeah, so as far as the daily, now the one thing that I will say is, you know, we could potentially be clipping and, you know, rounding the bottom on the momentum wave within the next 2 days. You know, potentially tomorrow, but almost more likely would be Tuesday if that's the case. Not necessarily saying that is the case, but you know, again, you're looking at the money flows had not a good wave, but you know, a better wave right there before getting into this low flow choppiness that is just terrible and nobody likes, and mixed trading just kind of suck. So the fact that we are getting, you know, potentially a little bit deeper money flow wave right there could be a harbinger of things to come. You know, coming over here on the 6 hour, you can see where we're kind of double dipping on the money flow, which, I mean, is quite very, very possible we end up with something like this, which basically just ends up coming out to be, you know, a giant wave with a valley in the middle, because, you know, the valleys in the middle is a real thing. Basically, it's just coming back, getting rejected, and going again. And you can see here a little bit of this action going on the momentum waves. So we shall see. It's going to be a little while before we come back up on the momentum wave, but you know, if we could put in a new high, start turning around. But not even concerned with that anytime at the moment, anytime soon here. You know, for the time being, the things that I'm looking at are, you know, no divergence yet, not on this chart at least. Money flow still decreasing. A little bit of divergence right here on the VWAP. It's not a great one though. Not really at all. You know, RSI's still looking kind of bearish, leaning toward sideways-ish. But we'll see what happens if we can if we can break through zero, or if we get rejected, because, you know, as we come up, it's pretty weak. It's got, you know, almost a flattening trajectory, kind of like we saw right here a little bit. And if it does continue with that, you know, that movement, that situation where it does something like this, that's going to be going down for sure. Just popping down to the 1 hour. And I'll leave it after this one, but let's check out the 1 hour a little bit closer. You know, we've been popping up with yellow X's. Got 3 of them so far in this run. See if we can't catch the 4 yellow X's. There you go. It's a dead Mr. Smiley. He's bleeding from his mouth. But again, money flow. I mean, technically it's not at its lowest point because it was lower here. It was lower here. We are still pointing down though. That was the worst arrow I've ever drawn. God bless it. Told you I was tired. So not looking so hot there. Not looking so hot on the VWAP. RSI's coming back together, pointing downward a little bit. So not looking all that great there either. So as far as these higher time frames go, whole lot of bearishness. I know one thing that is a big bummer right here. So we did see bullish divergence on the momentum wave, as well as a little bit on the money flow. Also, yeah, you could say we saw it. Let's see, as far as the VWAP goes, I'd be more apt to saying we saw some right there. And the result that we got out of that was, you know, this little break to the upside. But as far as trying to call, you know, this guy right here, we really didn't get jack out of that. You know, maybe this little break to the upside there, but again, you know, deep into the red. The money flow rules them all. So that is where we are at in the world of Bitcoin right now. Just real quick, jumping on the 12-minute, making a little bit of a turn. Got a big green dot. A little bit higher on the money flow so far, but still rounding the bottom in the best case scenario. We've had these RSIs running fairly close together to the downside here for a little while. You know, we are pointed up and they are close together, and VWAP is moving up, so we'll definitely see some kind of up move right now. I think the money flow is going to determine just how far it goes, you know, whether we beat that previous high, which fairly close to, fairly close to this resistance level, and then we got the next high. So we got a couple of areas to be watching. See what happens. Let's jump back to the weekly, and let's see what some other stuff is looking like. Ethereum. Looking over here, pretty close to Bitcoin as well. Potentially breaking this trend line right here. Let's see if we can get it a little bit more accurate. Yeah, potentially wicking down below it at the moment. Could be a bad sign. See what happens if this does turn out to be a pattern. Oh, that's a pretty rough target right there. If that is a pattern and it does play out accordingly, that would take us to like 1K. Let's see, what is this? Son of a bitch. $14.40. So that's our previous high support level right there. Oh, you know what? There's one more thing I wanted to go over real quick on Bitcoin itself, which is not delete everything. The bull market support band. It's been a little while since we brought it up here on the channel. You can see where we did indeed have that crossover. And as most people will tell you, a crossover is generally a bearish indicator. Again, crossover here. Now, of course, depending on which way you're going. In this case, you know, if red's crossing over to the downside. And you can see where, I think the last time we showed this on the channel, we were like right around here. I think, honestly, I forget. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't that long ago. Maybe it was right here. I know we were just coming up and approaching the support band, and obviously we got rejected whichever time that was. And we are pretty well below at this point. And the band itself, you know, pretty firmly headed to the downsides, which it's, you know, lagging, so it would be. But all right, let me close this out and we'll check out just a couple other things real quick. I'm not gonna run through too many. Ethereum Classic, generally the same shape over here. Yeah. Ripple almost has, it's not quite a straight support level, and we're right at it right now, so you know the next day or so will tell on that one. As far as Luna, got a little bit to go before we're at, you know, that first big support level, where you could almost just call it that right there, which, you know, pretty long time, pretty strong support level. Polka, you know, not really any great spots on this chart. I can almost call it like that, but not gonna draw it on this one. ADA, similar. Solana, let's see here. Coming in on approach. VeChain potentially putting in a new low if we continue, which, speaking of, looks like it just dropped a tad. So, I mean, obviously it's long surpassed its initial lows for this cycle, so we'll see what happens. It's had a little bit sharper moves. Now, granted, it didn't quite come down as far as everybody else did at the time. It was it was behind by at least a couple weeks. You know, when Bitcoin and everybody else started dipping, was like back here, and then, you know, it started along with it and then just followed right along. It may not have been that long, but I remember it being delayed a little bit, because it actually gave me decent time to see what was about to happen. Let's see, Phantom. Now Phantom has a little bit of a different situation going. Not really a great place to go off of, but if I had to, I'd say maybe something like that. So it's got a little ways to go. Still in the positive on that one. Tessie Holiday. Not really a great place to draw. Okay. Not really good. Son of a bitch. Hey. Yeah, not a great place for a trend line on that guy. Let's just pull this back a couple, see what happens. Yeah, already broke through on that one if that's the case. I don't know. That seems kind of iffy. Yeah, it's definitely a trend line. It's definitely a resistance line, and we definitely broke through it, but I'm curious to see if, you know, we create an actual line, maybe something like this. Matter of fact, that's probably a decent little support level right there. I'm going to leave that one in. But I think you guys get the general picture. For the most part, you have like 2 to 3 different types of charts at any given time. You know, you got your blue chips, your Bitcoin, Ethereum, you know, Chainlink, the big dogs, the old schools that generally look alike. And then you've got kind of got your tier 2, like your Avalanche, Luna, like Harmony, some of the popular ones that have had divergent charts going on for a little bit. And then you got some of the new ones over here. Sand, Mana's just different altogether. Obviously on the weekly chart, these are fairly new, and they all have that kind of ICO initial chart pattern that, matter of fact, speaking of the video that we just did earlier with the fractals and the population graphs, looks exactly like that. Interesting how that pattern tends to show up in so many different things. Now Zcash is kind of interesting. You know, we've been staying in this range with, you know, pretty much a flat bottom with a tapering top. Now, technically, that pattern would tend to break to the downside, but doesn't have to necessarily. And it seems like the utility of Zcash and Monero has been playing a pretty decent part in its price action lately. It's kind of interesting. Yep, Monero's chart actually looking better than most, really. And Crow matching all-time lows. I hope you guys aren't holding on to that one. We got Waves potentially making a bottom bounce, but yeah, I'm not super enthusiastic. You know, like everybody else, money flow coming to the red. Loop ring. Money flows just look terrible for a while now. You know, despite that giant initial pump, but like I was just talking about before, you know, I kind of got that initial pump pattern, came all the way back, went a little lower, had a nice little run upward before, you know, repeating that initial pump back to like the golden pocket. But money flow coming into the red as well, potentially setting a new low in the short term there. I call it short, but it's months. Real quick, algo not looking great. Near, near kind of rounding out, having a little bit of reminiscence to the top of the bull market right there, with putting in the highs, putting in the lower high, potentially putting in another lower high. Yeah, once again, population chart. Although this one's almost all the way back to its own low. Potential trigger wave situation. Again, depends what the money flow does. But all right, I'm going to leave it at that. You know, we'll cap this off over here on the S&P ETF. Got the yellow X on the S&P with a 20 to the bearish side. Or at least that's where it left off on Friday. Seriously? I was not trying to delete that. Ass. Oh, are you shitting me? I got rid of my settings. There we go. You know, just got a VWAP cross to the downside. RSIs tight together to the downside. Not looking so hot. Money flow going to the downside. Oh boy. Just out of curiosity, total market cap. Now, if you don't know, total and total 2 is total crypto market cap and total altcoin market cap. Interesting. Oh, crap. The RSIs are closer together over here on Bitcoin. Other than that, pretty similar. Bitcoin's momentum wave down a little bit further. Yeah, money flow a little bit deeper over here on Bitcoin. But all right, that's it. I hope everybody had a nice weekend, had a nice Mother's Day. I hope you did something nice for your mom, wherever you're at. And if you don't have a mom, well, you know, just, you know, pay a little homage in your head. Remember some of the good stuff, some of the good times. If you're into it, say a little prayer saying thank you for your mother and for mothers out there in general, because let's face it, we wouldn't fucking exist without them. So, regardless how you feel on the matter, you gotta have a little bit of gratitude. But alright, remember, keep being a badass. I'm serious. Walk with your damn chest out, shoulders back, head up, chin up. Remember, start the week off right. Go into it with that mentality of you're gonna walk in the room, be the baddest motherfucker in the room, and can't nobody say shit to you. And just doing that is gonna make you start feeling it. You're gonna have that energy flow. You're gonna feel that vibration. It's gonna want to make you get more of that feeling. You're gonna want to learn some stuff, maybe work out a little bit more, get stronger, bigger, faster, harder, the whole 9 yards. And in the end, you win. So, love you guys. Have a good one.